G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kaitlyn and I'm an American learning to live down under here in beautiful Sydney, Australia. Since living in Australia, I have tried a huge variety of Australian foods. So today I'm sharing a list of 15 Australian foods that you must try if you are visiting Australia. Let's jump right into the video. So as a little bonus, Australia is a huge wine producing country. And today I actually have a glass of wine that a subscriber had sent to me. So I want to give a special thanks to one of my subscribers who sent me this amazing bottle of wine that I cannot wait to try. Thank you so much, Alex, to Alice Springs over in the Northern Territory. Alex reached out to me and was kind enough to send this to my P.O. box. Alex in the Northern Territory, thank you so much for sending this over. This wine is absolutely delicious and is going to go so well with some of the things that I'm going to mention in this video. So first up on this list is meat pies. And I feel like even though this is a traditionally British dish, meat pies are something that are just available everywhere over here. It's such a classic Aussie food staple that if you come to Australia, you need to try a meat pie. They even have vegetarian options for those of you who are not into meat. And I'm sure if you're in some of the larger cities like Sydney or Melbourne, if you look around hard enough, chances are you could probably even find a vegan one out there. Meat pies are a staple of Australian food, so if you come to Australia, you absolutely must try it. Whether it's at a restaurant or if you stop by a servo and grab one of the pies from there, meat pies are something that you absolutely must try if you are over here in Australia. You can find them in grocery stores in the freezer. You can find them at your local servo. You could find them at some really nice restaurants. I remember having a rosemary and lamb pie at this cute little cafe in Hobart, and it was absolutely delicious. So if you're over here in Australia, grab a meat pie. I promise you won't be disappointed. A second thing on this list, and something that would pair really good with a glass of sweet red wine like this, are Tim Tams. So many people know what Tim Tams are, and even though you can get them in some places in the States, they're just not the same as grabbing a pack of Tim Tams over here in a Woolies or a Kohl's. Again, even servos have Tim Tams. They're pretty easy to find over here, and something about just the production of them, the quality of the ingredients that are used, it's very noticeable compared to the Tim Tams that you can find in some shops, say over in the States or some places in Europe. Really, there is nothing like Australian Tim Tams, especially with a cup of nice warm coffee. So yeah, grab yourself a pack of Tim Tams, grab another pack to put in your suitcase, and try it with a cup of coffee and do a Tim Tam slam. It is a game changer. Next thing are shapes, and shapes are so iconic over here in Australia. There are so many flavors, and honestly, even though my partner had sent me a couple boxes of these over the years, it didn't click that different shapes are different flavors. I know, it's something so small, so simple, and so many people already know, but I guess I just hadn't grown up with them, hadn't seen them, so it took a little while to realize that the different flavor shapes are in different shapes. Personally, I love the Vegemite ones, I love the barbecue ones, the pizza ones are pretty good. I don't think I've tried all of the types of shapes that are out there yet. Actually, I've done a Tim Tam ranking video, so if you guys want me to do a shapes ranking video, let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in seeing that. But shapes are an iconic food over here in Australia. I feel like this is something that every kid has had in their lunchbox, that every adult has taken to work for lunch, that people have snacked on pretty much their entire life. Shapes are a classic Aussie food that you must try if you come over here. The fourth thing on here, classic Australian, is Vegemite, specifically Vegemite toast. You can get Vegemite flavored things, you can find Vegemite scrolls in some places, but I feel like if you want the real Vegemite experience, you just need toast, butter, and Vegemite. Like every Aussie has told me, except for the ones that were like really trying to pull my leg, you don't put too much on there, a lot of butter, a little bit of Vegemite, spread it very thin. Don't try eating it off of a spoon or licking it off of a knife. Don't lick anything off of a knife, that's dangerous. So if you're over here in Australia, you definitely want that classic Vegemite toast for breakfast experience. Try a couple pieces of it. Maybe you're gonna have to play around with it a little to see just how much Vegemite you can tolerate on your toast. But it is definitely something that is worth trying. And what better to wash down Vegemite toast than a glass of Milo? You can drink it hot, you can drink it cold, but no matter what, there really is no limit to how much Milo you should be putting into a glass in order to make it properly. Milo is this malted chocolate drink that there's really nothing like it anywhere in the States, but as far as my Americans, there's really no equivalent. It's a powder that reminds you of Nesquik but doesn't quite taste like Nesquik. It's almost like if you took the flavor of those Whoppers candies and combined it with Nesquik and made a drink out of that. It is so good. It's very rich. It's very, very popular, especially among the kids over here in Australia. And even though you just had something sweet, say you want something a little bit more sweet, try fairy bread. Fairy bread is such a cheap, easy snack. I know that a lot of Aussies had said that this was a party snack growing up, that this is something that they had at parties, especially back in like the 80s and the 90s. But fairy bread is so simple to make. White bread, butter or margarine, depending on your preference, and then hundreds and thousands, or also sprinkles as they're called over in the States, those little nonpareil sprinkles. Not Jimmy sprinkles, like you don't want to use the little tube ones, you want to use the tiny little ball nonpareil sprinkles. Believe it or not, it actually does make a huge difference. Something about the nonpareil ones, they don't dissolve as quickly and they have a crunchier texture. And something about that slightly crunchy texture just makes it that much more appealing. Otherwise, it just feels like you're eating very sweet, buttery white bread. Which, even though that's what it is, something about the crunch just kind of elevates it just a little bit. So if you're over here in Australia, or honestly, you could find these ingredients over in the States for fairy bread. So if you want to give it a try over there, try grabbing some sprinkles, some white bread, and some butter. Make it yourself. I promise you, it is definitely worth it. One of the best hangover foods I have ever had. Now, as someone else who loves something sweet, lamingtons are something that you must try if you come over here to Australia. Some of them are filled with jam, some of them are filled with cream, some are filled with both, some aren't filled at all. But it is a light, fluffy butter sponge cake covered in chocolate and desiccated coconut. And desiccated coconut is not something that you can get in the States, at least not easily. Growing up, I used to hate coconut because of its big, thick, chunky texture, even though I like the taste. Desiccated coconut is so fine that it adds a slight crunch, but it doesn't have that crunchy, grindy, almost like gnaw on the back of your teeth mouth feel that whole flakes of coconut have. So if you love the flavor of coconut but aren't too keen on the crunchy bits of it, especially with coconut flakes, definitely give lamingtons a try. Something about the light butter sponge cake mixed with the dark chocolate and the light fruity coconut is so good. Definitely not something that you can find in the States, or at least not find easily, and they are so readily available over here. I highly recommend getting them from a cafe or a bakery compared to over something like the processed prepackaged ones that you can find over in Woolies or Kohl's. One of the best desserts are homemade lamingtons, trust me. And because I have a huge sweet tooth, I'm going to keep going on the sweets kick for a minute. And this one's pretty dividing between Australia and New Zealand, but pavlova is delicious, and I wish it was something that was a lot more common over in the States. It's a very light, fruity, airy dessert. It's often served at Christmas lunches or Boxing Day lunches, sometime over the summer, because it's light, it's airy, and you top it with fresh fruit, and fresh fruit is always in season in summer. Like berries and kiwis and passion fruit and mango. It is all so, so good on top of a slightly sweetened cream, sometimes even unsweetened, and then that crispy meringue shell. Oh my gosh, it is so good. It is a divine dessert, and I don't care whether it's Australian or Kiwi, you must try it if you come to Australia. So this next one you can find pretty easily, and that is a snag. So a snag is what we call a sausage over in the States. So snags are typically served on a barbecue, cooked on a barbecue. You'll find snags as part of like a sausage sizzle, like snag is the actual sausage and then you have the bread wrapped around it, and that's what makes it a sausage sizzle, I think. But snags are a really common food over here in Australia, and I had never had a barbecued snag or a barbecued sausage until I came over here. And something about it being cooked on a barbecue just elevates it. It's not your typical morning breakfast sausage. It is so, so good when it is barbecued. So another thing you have to try are flat whites. And I'm not talking about those weak little flat whites that you can get in a Starbucks over in the States. No, it is completely different. Flat whites over here are rich and velvety and creamy. There's a little bit of that bold, slightly bitter taste from the coffee, but flat whites over here are so good. They are just an elevated coffee experience compared to anything you can get over in the States. And really that goes for most cups of coffee. That goes for cappuccinos. That goes for lattes. Something about Australian coffee is just so much better than any type of coffee that you can find over in the States. So trust me, when you get to Australia, you can try a latte, you could try a cappuccino, but if you want a true Aussie experience, definitely try a flat white too while you are over here. So another food that you can only get in Australia and technically New Zealand are Anzac biscuits. And Anzac biscuits are based off of the Australia and New Zealand Army Corps biscuits that were made with the rations that people were able to get during World War I, biscuits that were made and were easily transportable between one place and another without spoiling. It's a very oat-heavy biscuit with a rich golden syrup taste. You can find them homemade, especially in April, right around Anzac Day. You could also find the pre-made ones, the same way you'd find Tim Tams, just on the shelf in your local Woolies or even your local servos. This next one, technically you can find the ingredient over in the States, but good luck finding the lot. So burgers over here in Australia with the lot on them have beetroot, and until I came over to Australia, I had never had beetroot on a burger. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of it, but if you're over here in Australia and you want the full classic Aussie food experience, get a burger with the lot. It will have a fried egg, it will have pineapple, and it will have beetroot. I've seen eggs on burgers over in the States. I've seen pineapples on burgers over in the States, but I have never seen beetroot on a burger until I came to Australia. So even if you do it only once just for that Aussie experience, get beetroot on a burger. A lot of my subscribers have said it's kind of similar to the idea of relish or pickles, so it's something that's slightly sour but also slightly sweet and kind of has that nice little balance. But even if you're not a huge fan of beetroot like I am, give it a try and see what you think. So I don't know what it is. I hated most seafood until I came to Australia, but I have been eating seafood and fish all the time over here, and it's actually delicious. Like, Mark made snapper the other day, and even though I wasn't used to it with all the little bones and all and picking the bones off, that in and of itself was a whole new experience for me. It was so good. And one fish over here that you really can't get over in the States is barramundi. Barramundi is delicious. You can fry it, you can barbecue it, you can bake it. It's a very versatile fish. It's light, it's plentiful, it's very easy to find over here. You will find it in pub menus over here, and you'll find it in upscale restaurants over here. It's a very versatile fish, it's delicious, and it's definitely worth a try. Even if you're not a fish lover like me, maybe split a dish with somebody who is, just in case you're not a huge fan. But definitely give barramundi a try if you're over here in Australia. Trust me, as somebody who was a sworn up and down seafood hater for like 30 years, I promise you it is still worth a try even if you don't like seafood. Now this one is a classic, especially in summer, and that is a Golden Gaytime. Hear me out if you're not Australian. It is a type of ice cream over here. Yes, the name does sound a little bit odd by today's standards, but remember, gay used to mean happy as well, so Golden Gaytime, Golden Happy Time, which I guess still sounds dirty. There's really no way to get around the name. I think this wine's starting to hit a little bit. But Golden Gaytimes are the perfect summer treat. They're creamy, the coating on them is delicious, it's crumbly. It has just that little bit of texture, so you're not just eating like a soft serve ice cream bar. Trust me, if you get over here, you can pick them up in a Coles or Woolies. Servos have them in their little freezer sections everywhere. You definitely want to try a Golden Gaytime if you come over to Australia. And finally, last on this list is kangaroo. And I know it sounds weird. You think of Skippy, you think of the cute little animals that are hopping around that you've probably seen at zoos. But kangaroos are abundant over here. They're actually considered similar to pests, the way that deer are considered pests over in the States. You can find kangaroo in your grocery store. You can find kangaroo at a lot of butchers over here in Australia. You could even find it on some menus, from kangaroo burgers to kangaroo skewers. It's a very lean, non-fatty meat. It is pretty gamey, so kind of similar to venison in that way. But it is pretty easy to get your hands on some kangaroo. Grill it up to a nice rare temperature if you're somebody who likes your steak well done. Although if you're going to eat a well done steak, then really why bother? But kangaroo has to be cooked rare. And I'm not saying that just as like a personal food preference. Everybody who has cooked kangaroo has told me you have to cook it rare. At most, medium rare. You can't go above that unless you want to be chewing on basically a clump of shoe leather.
Try the wine.
Very carefully open this up. So Alex was kind enough to send me this bottle from Brookwood Estate. It is Mellow Rouge 2015 from Margaret River. I absolutely love Western Australian wines, especially red wines from Western Australia. So I'm gonna go crack this open and try it. So I love wine bottles that have a twist top that don't require a cork opener. Honestly, cork does absolutely nothing for the wine. It doesn't change the flavor. Having a metallic top doesn't change the flavor at all. It smells really nice. It's really sweet, a little bit floral. Something about violets. Like, I'm not a sommelier at all, but something about this. It's like a sweetened violet smell. It smells really nice. I cannot wait to try this. Here we go. Let's be fancy and swirl it around a little. Oh, that is such a nice glass of wine. I see where they get the name Mellow Rouge. It is very sweet. It's very mellow. A lot of problems with some red wines is that they're so full body that you get that kind of sour, almost puckering feeling in the back of your mouth. With this, you don't get that at all. This is a great wine, very sweet. Something like this would be a great dessert wine. I could see this going with like dark chocolate, some kind of dark chocolate cake, German chocolate cake. So Alex, thank you so much for sending this over. I am definitely going to be enjoying this for the rest of the evening. This is one of the best bottles of Australian wine that I've had so far. This is delicious. So that is it for this video, you guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit the like and subscribe button down below to join our little Amer-Australian family. I post on Mondays and normally Thursdays about the differences between American and Australian culture and the overall process of learning to live down under. My name's Kaitlyn, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!